Shalom, everybody. Welcome again. I want to give all thanks and honor to the Most High Yah for just guiding me through this series. Help me make this series and just working with me on this. I pray that this be edifying unto everybody, edifying unto the Most High. And today we're going to be getting into Babylon and Persia, and we're going to be speaking about how they relate to the gold and the silver, and taking a deep dive into the traits that align to each kingdom. So let's get right into it. All right, the Babylon Empire is the head of gold. Let's get right into it. How do we know this? Well, for one, it was one of the richest nations in history. Two, it was one of the oldest nations in history. And going back to last video, I'm going to be also including Nimrod's Babylon, as I see these two as the same kingdom but at different time periods. So I'm going to be pulling a lot of traits from that Babylon as well. And third, it was one of the most influential nations in history. Babylon Empire reigned from 605 BC to 539 BC under King Nebuchadnezzar. And also, to remind you all, I'm also going to be including just notable kings of these empires, as some of these empires have multiple different rulers over the time period of them ruling. So I'm just going to include the most notable ones. And as you can see right here, you have a painting, a drawing of their city and what we thought it may look like, and the region that it occupied during its reign. All right, let's get into Babylon's riches, because boy, was it rich. Babylon Empire relied heavily on trade and barter to sustain its economy. A great deal of Babylon's food and goods came from agriculture due to the irrigation system established by the Tigris and the Euphrates River. So these are two rivers, big rivers over there in that region, that flowed through Babylon. That is a huge thing. If you look at even cities today, all the cities that have big rivers flowing through them are pretty wealthy cities, because you got to think, not only can you use it for, in Babylon's case, agriculture and other things like that, but you can also um, charge different countries passing by, trying to cross through your river. And that's how a lot of these wealthy cities, the ones that have rivers through them, are so wealthy like they are and made money. They charge different people trying to use that river. So that was one of the ways, and a big way of how Babylon was able to build the wealth that they had. And let's look at some characteristics of their city, just the architecture. And it really gives you an idea of how much money they had. They had what we'll call dumb money, just stupid money. They had a brick wall that was 56 miles long, 300 feet high, and 25 feet thick, with another 75-mile wall behind it. So this is a huge, huge wall. Now, this is for defensive purposes, but this is almost going overboard. I'm pretty sure they used it for other things as well. But this is a huge wall. A lot of manpower, a lot of just time spent. Um, Also, just the 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 technology they would have had to invest in, just to be able to build these type of architectures. It's insane. They also had 250 towers that were 450 feet high and a wide moat that encircled the city, as we see right here. So again, defensive purposes, but also again, and I played a lot of historic games, historic war games. This is almost overboard, and it just really shows you how much money they had. They also had streets that were paved with stone slabs, three three squared feet. So their streets were paved with stone slabs. These things are not easy to make. You know, we can make them. You can make them, but they're just not easy. And it's not something you would do for a street. You may do it as you see now for porches and stuff like that for people to decorate. But streets paved with them, that just shows you they just had, again, stupid money. They also had a golden image of the bee deity in the in a golden table, which combined weight weighed 5,000 pounds of solid gold. So both the image and the table. And this during this making, this was um a f- about 3 4 months ago, and making this. So gold's prices have changed, but at the time of recording this, gold was sitting at around $2,000. Today, that image and also that um table would be worth $95 million. 95 million. That's how much they would have been worth. I mean, it's just insane. And a lot of people are like, well, the U.S. spends a billion here, a billion. This is just m- some. These are just two items they just have, just random. Just sitting around. They have many other things like this. And also, when speaking about Babylon and when doing my history, it doesn't seem like they had a lot of debt, and that's one big thing. Um, I believe they are truly one of the. I believe they're the richest nation in history. Um, the U.S. now may be richer than them as far as how much money they're able to generate and stuff like that. Um, for its time compared to Babylon's time. But the only thing is, the U.S. has a lot of debt, and from doing my research I came across, I could be wrong. Put it in the comments. I did not see that Babylon had a lot of debt, nor did they ever deal with anything like that. So they had all this wealth and not much debt. So they were just able to just keep building. I mean, it's insane how much. And there's some stuff I didn't even put on the list because there's just so much stuff that they had. And again, they had the Euphrates River, which flowed through the city, which was a big plus to them during this time. And then also, Nebuchadnezzar's palace was considered to be the most magnificent building ever constructed. And we're going to get into some things about his palace, because some of the things are very, very insane. Um, Actually, let's get into one of them right now. And this is the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Now, if many of you don't know, probably haven't heard of this because there is there's evidence for it, but it's not standing like some of these other ancient structures. So it's still, a lot of people don't believe, and a lot of people do believe. I do believe from the things I've seen that this was an actual structure. Actually, it's characterized as one of the seventh ancient wonders of the world. So we have the seven, or I believe eight, wonders of the world now. Well, this is one of the seven ancient wonder of the world. So let's get into this video. He's going to explain a little bit of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, listed by Hellenic culture. They are described as a remarkable feat of engineering, with great admiration by various ancient authors. The architectural wonder was a pyramid consisting of 4 floors. The floors themselves were platforms on columns with a height of 50 cubits, that is, about 27 meters. The lower floor had the shape of an irregular quadrangle. To prevent water from seeping down, the surface of each platform was covered with a layer of reeds mixed with natural asphalt. Then 2 rows of bricks were placed on top, built with gypsum mortar, and lead plates were placed above everything to seal it all together. A fertile soil was poured on them, in which they planted seeds of various types of grass, flowers, bushes, trees, and others. The height of the floors provided enough light and space for the plants. The pyramid was an ever-flowering hill. The gardens rose in steps, and in between, there were steps covered with pink and white stone. The platforms themselves resembled terraces, each of which was an independent garden in itself. This is where the popular name Hanging Gardens comes from. The greatest beauty was that all the terraces formed a whole. Creeping plants and lianas ran along the outer edge, which passed to the next terrace, and thus united all the gardens into a single ensemble of trees, bushes, hedges, as well as avenues of flowers. Into the interior of the columns which supported the platforms were built pipes, by which water was brought day and night from the Euphrates to the uppermost terrace, whence it flowered in streams and small waterfalls, watering the plants on the lower floors. The most amazing and rare types of plants bloomed in these fabulous gardens. Day and night, slaves or laborers turned the water wheel with leather vessels, watering the Hanging Gardens with water from the Euphrates.
So that was just a little bit of info on the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Um, Crazy structure, especially like if you really like pay attention to some of the detail, the the brains behind it, just the technology for its time, and that's another video about um these ancient nations and the fact that they had more advanced technology than what we think they had. They wasn't just running around with sticks and stones, as I like to say. But just yeah, the architecture of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon is just amazing. The how the water flowed to down to each floor and that concept, it was just such a brilliancy and a magnificent structure. And this is why this is another reason just to show how rich they were. Like to build this type of structure, maintaining this um takes took a lot of money, and this was a part of Nebuchadnezzar's palace. This is why he had one of the most magnificent buildings ever constructed, because he had stuff like this um, that was attached to his palace. Um, Another thing is the Ishtar Gate. Now, this gate is actually up still. Uh, Very, very well built gate. And gate is really a understatement. I mean, this thing is insane. I don't know if all can see right here, but this is a person compared to that door. That door is like 10 times the size of that person. Um, that's how big this gate is. I mean, they have how would you say, reconstructed it in a sense, or um, they have remodeled it in a way where they, because it obviously and stuff, it had um rust that's built up on it. It kind of decayed it, so they kind of fixed it up a little bit, refurbished it in a sense. Um, but it's a magnificent structure, really huge. Um, the the stones that went into it, the paintings. It's very, very, very. I don't have a video for that one, but I would definitely uh, do research on that because it's just another, again, shows the amount of wealth that Babylon had. And also subscribe to this guy. Watch a couple of his videos. He has some very good videos. I definitely highly recommend finishing this Hanging Gardens of Babylon video on his channel because it's a very, very good video. And then we just have the city and what we thought it looked like. So you have the Ishtar Gate right here where it would have set. Um, the palace right over here, and just huge, like just huge city, very well designed city. And again, it just looking at the city, looking at the Hanging Gardens, the Ishtar Gate, all the different details of the city, it just really shows you that Babylon was a very, very rich country. And it also shows you how it relates to gold. Gold being one of the most valuable metals um, in the world. Not the most valuable, but one of the most valuable. And it's the most valuable on Nebuchadnezzar's statue. So it just shows you the richest nation. Uh, it goes with the gold, with the richest nation being one of the richest nation, gold being the richest of the metals. So it just makes sense in how it correlates to the gold. And the next reason is that it was one of the oldest civilizations in history. Um, this is also is speaking about ancient Babylon. So before Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, Nimrod's Babylon, and right after the flood, um, this is the region they set up in, which was Mesopotamia. And let's look into Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is a region located in modern day Iraq, Syria, and Kuwait. Mesopotamia is considered the birthplace of civilization. Mesopotamia was also home to the world's first urban cities, including Babylon under then King Nimrod, according to the Tulane University and according to the scriptures. Um, Sorry for the spelling of the scriptures. I accidentally put an E in there. But yes, uh, this is the oldest uh, place post flood where humans started to rebuild. Um, there's thoughts that obviously that there's possibly other humans, um, other civilizations post flood that where humans broke off and scattered to other places, but this is where you see the first kingdoms. Those other places may have just been villages and stuff like that, but this is where you see the first kingdom. So, mass populations of people, and this is the region over there in modern day Israel and that Middle Eastern region. Where Jericho is, the Euphrates River, Tigris, and this is what it's kind of thought to look like in a sense. And this is where Babylon originated from. Was this region right here? This is where Nimrod's Babylon would have been in this region right here. And they were very, very, very heavy into astronomy, similar to Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, and how they're really into astronomy. And this is the reason why this is considered also a trait of that gold. Gold, as we also know, is one of the oldest metals in history. All the metals are old in a sense, but one of the oldest, one of the first to be discovered. So gold and silver has been used since the beginning. So this is also correlates to why Babylon is the gold. Babylon also was one of the first nations after the flood, Nimrod's Babylon. Gold has been around since then. So, and it has been discovered and used since then. So, this is another correlation to why Babylon is the gold. And these are the 2 points to why I believe Babylon is the gold. If you have any other things, any other traits that you can think of, or if you have any rebuttals, please feel free to comment them down below. And last but not least, it was the most influential nation in history. So, Babylon, with also being the oldest nation in history, brought with it being one of the most influential ones in history. And some of these is most of these is from Nimrod's Babylon, but some of them also comes from um, uh, King Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon as well. First, they influenced astronomy. A lot of people don't know this. Astronomy came from Babylon, as I know it from the research I've done, and a lot of different things we do. There's even more things than these three right here. These are just notable ones, but a lot of different things that we do in our society came from Babylon. And most societies actually came from Babylon. Now, a lot of people could just attribute this to them being the oldest nation, but there's a lot of unique things that things wouldn't have been needed for that time for survival or just for its time, and evolving. Things like astronomy, it's not really needed for that time, but they were very, very into it, and deeper than just trying to tell the seasons. Like very, very caught up in the idea of space, And let's see this. The Babylonians divided the sky into zones, the most important being that which lay alongside the ecliptic, the apparent path followed by the sun, moon, and the planets across the backdrop of the sky. So they track the stars, they track the moon, the sun. Um, like I said again, very, very much into it. Kind of how like we are trying to be today, supposedly. Um, we are into it in a sense. But whether this picture is true or not of this event happening, being on the moon or so, still to be determined. But that's another video. But yeah, we're very much into it as well. Um, as a society, a lot of people say, well, it relates more. Uh, there's a reason why we're into it now. Because they talk about things like overpopulation and wanting to find new planets and stuff like that. Want to extract resources from different rocks. A lot of people say it makes more sense for us to get into it now, in our time period. But we've been into this now, um, in these European establishments since the 1700s, 16, 1700s, um, way for this overpopulation, this extracting minerals from the rocks. We have been really, really into space, and we don't even know our ocean. We know space more than we know our ocean here. So just all this stuff comes from Babylon, and it's really a power thing. They're trying to gain knowledge that we may not, just naturally have. Knowledge that is hard to find. They're trying to gain more knowledge and try to get up to the Most High's level. But as we see with the Tower of Babel, and how that happened, Most High will only allow things to go so far. Next is architecture. The Babylonians were known for building very tall buildings and towers. A lot of the same way that we support and build them is the same way we do today. Uh, so a lot of the same way that they built their architecture, their tall buildings, because there's a certain way that you have to build it to so that it could stand, with it being that tall. We use today. It came from Babylon. And the shape of the different buildings that we have today is just very similar to Babylon. And this also infatuation and just trying to like build so high, which really doesn't make no sense. If you're thinking about it just from a logical standpoint, but if you're thinking about it spiritually, we know why they're so infatuated with building so high. kind of like how Nimrod's Babylon and those people were infatuated. And last, we have religion. And this one was a crazy eye opener whenever I came across it. So we have this chart right here. And if you see the um, how all these nations and their religion structure look, it's very similar. It has the same um, three things: father, mother, and son. If we first see, it starts off with Babylon, it being Nimrod, being the father, Semiramis, being the mother, and Tammuz, being the son. Father, mother, son. Let's jump down to Egypt, another notable one. Has Ra, being the father, Isis, being the mother, and Horus, being the son. Greece, you have Zeus, being the father, Aphrodite, being the mother, and Dionysus, being the son. Rome, you have Jupiter, being the father, Diana, being the mother, Apollo, being the son. All these different things, even Luciferian, Lucifer being the father, Diana being the mother, and the Antichrist being the son. And then you got Catholic as the father. Then it has Virgin Mary, and then you have JC being the son. So we see that it influenced like major nations, major religions, per se, as you could say, um, over history, and it all started with Babylon. Now, I do want to make a point. We believe in uh, the Father, which is the Most High, Yah, and we believe in His Son, Yahshua Hamashiach, which is the Messiah. We don't believe in no mother, and that's where there's a difference from this ancient Babylon structure, which is the father, mother, son, and it's so crazy when you look at this chart and to see like it really had its hand in so many different religions around the world, so many different nations around the world, and just seeing how it was able to influence in all these different areas. It's really it's a sad thing in a sense, but it's amazing in a sense of like how influential they are and how little Babylon is talked about. And I don't think that's a coincidence. A lot of Babylon is not talked about as much. Um, they even let you talk about Rome, but you start talking about Babylon. I mean, another reason why is just probably just because it's just so old of a nation. Um, but Rome wasn't that far behind. Even Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, that's not even talked about as much as Rome, and Rome wasn't as far behind. But you know, they there's reasons to why they won't uh, allow you, or they just don't speak about um, ancient nations because they don't want certain things coming up like this and you coming across like, whoa, we do this today, we do that today. What? Like, um, and this is another reason why this relates to the head of gold, which is that, and the key part being in there is the head. So it don't relate to the gold as much. Well, with a lot of these traits, it's going to be relating to also the different parts of the statue. So it relates to the head of gold. The head being the most influential, being the most important. I mean, the head controls the body. We know our head controls our bodies, our movements, and stuff like that. Um, Babylon very much controlled um, how people uh, carried out their lives, how these societies, these cities were built. Um, they had a hand in it. Um, so this is why, and these are the three reasons why I believe Babylon is the head of gold. Again, put any other ones you have down in the comments, or if you have any questions or rebuttals, please put in the comments. All right, so now let's get into Persia. Persia is the chest and arms of silver. How do we know? Persia reigned from 539 BC to 331 BC under King Cyrus the Great and Darius. And they were the first to embrace a monetary system centered around coins. And then, second, it was one of the richest nations in history. So, let's get into it. As we see from some of these pictures, you see they also have palaces just like Babylon. Um, they look like some trading going on right here. And this is the area they occupied. So let's get into these 2 points and how we know these things are true. All right, first, it was the first one to embrace a monetary system centered around coins. All right, let's read this. I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name. I'm just going to say the Akka. The Akka Empire issued coins from 520 BC to 450 BC to 330 BC. The empire was founded by Cyrus the Great of the Akka dynasty in 550 BC, also known as the First Persian Empire. The Persian daric was the first gold coin, which, along with a similar silver coin, the siglos, represented the first bimetallic monetary standard. The kings of Persia began to strike coins in large quantities. So they were the first to have these stamp coins in use for trading and stuff like that. This allowed them to grow huge. And you got to think about it. When these people went out to trade before this, you would have to have a skill. Somebody has to have the skill, whether it's you trying to trade your products or the person you're trying to trade uh, your gold and silver with, right? Someone has to have a skill to be able to prove how much weight that gold is and that silver is. Otherwise, you couldn't trade. You can trade other items like fish and meats and stuff like that for produce or something that you can just see that doesn't have to be weighed. But with gold and silver, the value comes from the weight of that gold and silver. So before this, it made it kind of hard to trade. A lot of these people will have to go to markets where they have skills. Probably, both parties will have to meet up there if none has a skill. So it just made it a little bit inconvenient and it slowed down the trading process. Well, when these coins came into mint, when they started minting these coins and it came to be, this sped up the trading process. And as we see in this picture right here, we see that this is the territory that Persia had, and there's trading going along all their region because they were the ones mass producing these coins. Now they're able to, they're the country that can be the fastest, the nation that can be the fastest to make a trade, get a trade done because you would be able to see how much it is, and their economy benefited from it. uh, this is how they was able to grow their wealth. And it's interesting because, this relates to the silver in a sense because we know that silver, the silver coin, the siglos, would have been the most traded, right? Uh, Before the dollar came about, the fiat dollar came about that we have now, which is not backed by nothing. We had paper notes and actual coins that we traded with here in the United States. Um, and you'll buy stuff with those silver coins and stuff like that. And silver was the most common thing that was traded. So it's kind of similar to this Persian time period. Um, it's That's how they correlate with the silver. Them being the first to this monetary system where you're stamping metals. And this is one of the reasons why I believe that they're the silver arms in chest. And as you can see right here, this is the siglos, the silver coin right here. And then this is the Darius. The siglos, uh, I didn't even hear this name before then, but I think it's called the Derrick. The Derrick, I'm pretty sure uh, you have probably heard that term before, but that's pretty much the gold coin that the Persians use, which is the Derrick. Um, Whether they came up with that name or not, it was the first. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they were because they were the first to mint it. But yes, this is uh, that's where it came from, was Persia, and this allowed them to be very, very wealthy. And a lot of their paintings and carvings, you'll see a lot of trade going on and stuff like that. They built up a lot of their wealth from trade. Um, and You got to think a lot of countries probably really want to do business with them because, first off, they can see, okay, this is how much this is worth. Now, obviously, there's a level of trust that come into play um, into this, um, but it makes things so much easier. And once you get past the trust factor, it's just such an easier way to build up wealth. And other countries, I'm pretty sure they wanted this coin. They wanted uh 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 this stamp Siglos and the Derrick. Just like nowadays, where countries want the U.S. dollar. It's very trusted. I'm pretty sure for that time period, Persia's coins would have been very, very trusted, similar to the U.S. dollar. Why the U.S. dollar is very trusted, I don't know. There is some reasons why I know why, but there's some reasons why it's like I don't know why countries are still invested. It's really a they really monopolized it, where it's like, what else do you have to go to? Uh, but that's besides the point. That's just a side note. But yes, this is why I believe they are the silver. Let's get into the second reason. The second, well, they were also, just like Babylon, one of the richest nations in history. With this monetary system, they were able to trade with a lot of everybody, pretty much, and it allowed them to grow their economy again relatively pretty fast. So let's read this. The main source for Persia's economy was through agriculture. Persia was rich in valuable metals, and its people knew how to mine. Throughout history, Persia is most famously known for exporting valuable metals like gold, silver, iron, and copper. However, most of the actual finances in Persia came from a well established tax and tribute system. There was even a system of coinage. So they also had a tax system, a tribute system. That's interesting. And kind of shows you, like, as you uh go down from Babylon, then Persia, then Greece, then Rome, we took things from each of these nations, and we're still using it now today. Um, and as we see here, this is one of their palaces. They had a lot of different palaces as well. Um, and they had some notable ones as well, just like Babylon. It just wasn't as great as Babylon's were. That's why they're also referred to as inferior to the gold. And as you can see, it look like some tributes or some trading going on right here. Um, and we'll get into these after this video right here. So let's look at one of their places, the majestic city of Persepolis.
Persepolis, capital of the Persian Empire, seat of the King of Kings. The secure location made Persepolis the ideal place for the royal treasury as it was deemed the safest place in the Persian Empire. It was also the most secure location to store tributes, archives, artifacts, precious treasures, and valuable art. Persepolis's main complex consisted of 9 buildings when completed by Darius' successors around 100 years later. The names and images of Darius I, his son Xerxes, and grandson Artaxerxes frequently appear on the various surfaces of the ruins which remain of the ancient city. No costs were spared. The city was meant to be a showplace for the might, wealth, and abilities of the Achaemenid kings and the Persian Empire. Vast amounts of luxurious and costly materials were imported from every known country in the ancient world, including Lebanese cedarwood, purple dye, expensive metals, Egyptian cotton, and Indian gold. Construction materials included stone, mud brick, and wood. Decorations were lavishly applied, including exquisite reliefs, and perfectly made fired and glazed bricks of yellow, brown, and green. It is surmised that the double doors of the main buildings in the royal complex were made of wood and covered with elaborately decorated metal.
So that kind of just showed you a little bit of the wealth of this place. Very, very, very majestic place. And let's get into some of the things they had in here because, uh, unlike today, where we have these planes and stuff like that, just quick travel. It's a lot of this stuff was hard to come by, right? We even got rare stuff today that's just very, very hard to come by. But with new technologies and stuff like that, it just makes it easier to make synthetic things, and we just have abundance amount of different options and stuff like that. But they did not have these type of things during this time. They didn't have fast travel during this time, as we know of. Um, they could have. That's another video. But as far as we know, they didn't have very very fast travel, right? Um, they didn't have the uh, most highly tech um, type of things and machines to make different products, synthetic products, and duplicates of items and stuff like that, right? So you had these 5 things, which was very, very valuable in the ancient world. First, Lebanese cedar wood, very, very valuable. Have not did a lot of research on Lebanese cedar wood. I'm pretty sure they harvest it for the wood. I would think, and it seems like from the name, it's um, you can only get it from Lebanese, right? And then you have things like Egyptian cotton from Egypt, and with all these different things during this time, um, like with Egyptian cotton, it I have not did a lot of research into Egyptian cotton, but I'm guessing that it was a more fluffier cotton, maybe a more stronger cotton, just a more valuable cotton than the other cotton that you can get from anywhere else, right? Expensive metals, of all kind, gold, rubies, and other things like that. Purple dye, which was very, very hard to get. They got purple dye from a snail, um, in the ocean, I believe. Um, so you had to go in the water, I'm guessing, to get this, unless they bred them, right? To get this purple dye. So it was not easy to get purple dye. This is why the color purple back then was so like it if you were wearing purple, it shows that you're royalty. It shows that you have money because it was a very, very hard color to come by. And then you have Indian gold, I'm guessing, a more stronger gold, possibly more better looking gold, pure gold. And they probably had a lot of um interesting designs. This is why that's probably so valuable. And it makes sense that they were able to get these things. Going back to the monetary system, they were able to trade with so many different countries. They had so much different trade. So they were just acquiring things, just building up their wealth. And again, going looking at their history, they didn't seem like they had a lot of debt either. At least no debt that I've seen. Uh, again, one of the richest nations. I believe it relates to the silver. It being that you see with Babylon being the richest nation, um, it relating to the gold. Persia having this amount of wealth, it relating to the silver. Both these two were very, very rich nations, and gold and silver is, as we call today, precious metals. Iron is valuable, brass is valuable, bronze is valuable. All these other ones are still valuable, but they're not precious metals. They're not in rarity. Uh, there's way more iron than there is gold and silver combined on this earth. So this is why Babylon is the gold, Persia is the silver. All right, stay tuned because we're going to be going over the thighs of bronze and who is that and why do they relate to that, and also the legs of iron. So, as always, I want to thank the Most High for guiding me through this lesson, allowing me to speak and make this lesson. Hope you all was edified by this. And if you have any questions, please leave them down below. Any comments, leave them down below. And I want to ask that you like this video, share. If you enjoyed this video, if this was edifying unto you, and I hope you all have a Barak day, a great day, and shalom.